Joining me now is Christy Chapman. She is the CEO of Chapman Health and Wellness and the Balm Body Care, an Oregon award-winning topical line. Chapman has been a nationally accredited respiratory practitioner who worked in Portland and Vancouver critical care units, including the open heart team and the pediatrics ICU. Christy has provided care since 1991 to respiratory patients in both the acute and chronic stage. Her experience and compassion for people has brought her to a place of desiring to find solutions to many of the health problems we all face. Welcome to the show, Christy.
Thank you so much for having me, Wendy. I'm so honored to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. And this episode is about sleep, which many people deal with issues surrounding sleep. The first thing I want to ask you about is so people understand, how is someone who is a respiratory professional suited to speak about sleep?
That's a very good question. The respiratory system, as we know, brings air in and pushes air out. A respiratory therapist, anything that would involve or that could be regulated in any way with a modality, a respiratory therapist would be involved with that. So with sleep, I actually worked in a sleep study lab as a respiratory practitioner. And so we would put all of the funny electrodes all over the head, and we would go in and we would monitor pressures so that we could keep the airway open, because we know when the airway occludes, you're not getting oxygen, you're building up carbon dioxide, and that can cause disturbances in your sleep, can keep you from REM sleep. So as a respiratory therapist, I actually titrated those pressures for the patient to have the optimal opening in their airway with air pressure. And I shouldn't share this, but I'm going to. You can literally have somebody in that state be monitored, and when you are manipulating pressures in and out of the airway, you can actually pop somebody out of REM sleep.
Oh, wow.
by taking that pressure away. So as a sleep study specialist that I did for several years, we could titrate a pressure and have their airway open enough so that they could finally go into REM, which was a problem and why they were there. And when we would withdraw that pressure, they would come out of REM and wake up.
Oh, wow. Wow,
So,
that's a lot of control.
well,
Right.
you know what? It's a lot of helping people figure out how to get good sleep is how I like to look at it. And airway occlusion, sleep apnea, was something that I did study for a few years. So sleep is important, and it is right up my alley.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, so sleep apnea is something a lot of people deal with. You mentioned a lot of things in there, and I'd love to kind of define some of it. You mentioned REM sleep. So we hear a lot that REM sleep is super important. I wonder, what are the other stages of sleep, and why is REM so important?
Well, let's just, for time's sake, talk about REM sleep.
Okay.
And we cycle into REM sleep several times throughout the night. And that's what makes us feel rested in the morning. Being able to not have that REM sleep can leave us feeling groggy in the morning, very hazy. It can actually have us falling asleep during the day.
So it is really important. And a lot of people have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. And so I would imagine they're not getting that REM sleep if that's the case.
Yes, I would agree with that. And one of the things that you had mentioned in the beginning of the show was that at Chapman Health and Wellness, we believe in the solution. So what can help people to have better sleep? We have all these cannabinoids that we have now. We do not have to rely on pharmaceutical medications. I just know so many people that have used cannabis to sleep well. And now that we know that we have different cannabinoids that can actually help us even further. One of the cannabinoids that I would like to talk about this evening is CBN.
Oh,
And
yes. I'd love to learn more about CBN.
yes,
Yes.
CBN actually reduces pain, and this is, I have to look at my notes, but this was just a fun tickling fact for my brain. When CBN reduces pain caused by a high temperature in the body, there is a potential for CBN to be a great molecule, cannabinoid, for burn patients. Now, I know we're talking about sleep, but we're talking about CBN, and I would like to talk about the wide range that one cannabinoid can do. So I just thought that was fascinating, that it could literally lower somebody's body temperature. So if a burn patient had enough, that it could actually regulate that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, cannabis creates homeostasis. So, you know, looking at one isolated cannabinoid, it seems like that's exciting news, because for burn patients, it's such a devastating thing that can happen, and what relief they could have.
Yes.
And then for it to also help with sleep, not only for burn patients, but for anyone, you know, that's also equally amazing, I think. Yeah.
Well, if it can help somebody in that kind of a situation, just think, if we want to bring our stresses and, issues that we're having with the way the world is today, bringing all of that into homeostasis before we go to sleep. And so CBN has been a great part of the cannabinoids that we've been utilizing for rest, for sleep. I also would just like to encourage people to use CBD with the CBN. We don't want to use CBN on its own, but it relaxes the body. Nice. Quiets it, brings it into homeostasis, and prepares it for sleep.
That's wonderful.
CBN has been great.
Nice. A lot of physicians do prescribe different drugs for sleep, but what's the difference? I know there are several kinds of drugs. It seems like when people are taking them, they may get the sleep, but it doesn't seem like it's providing the same kind of REM sleep. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I've never taken them personally, but I know people who have, or who have had to rely on them because they need to sleep to work or care for their children or function, right? What's the difference with this natural cannabinoid versus taking a pharmaceutical drug?
Well, a pharmaceutical drug is going to act in each and everyone's body different. So we can't say that it's going to do the same thing with everybody. But certainly, when you're putting a pharmaceutical into your body, you're poisoning it. I'm on your show. I don't have to sweeten it. You're poisoning your body. You are not healing it. So your sleep is not going to be natural. It is not as deep. You can awaken from that as it wears off, as it becomes not as available. With cannabinoids, when you bring your body into homeostasis for sleep, it's going to stay in that period for that cycle. So you are not only feeding your body natural cannabinoids from the plant, from the earth, that is going to bring your body to the place that you want it to, but your body will receive it, and it is doing that job of helping you sleep, but it is also a neuroprotectant. It is also helping your body to rebuild. And that's
a big difference, right?
We want to encourage people towards health. Now, I certainly am not here to do any kind of judgment on anybody who maybe has to have a sleeping pill. and
Sure.
that is what works for them. So I just really do want to make sure that there is no judgment. It is what works for each individual with the knowledge that they have and their desire to grow.
Right, right. That's so important. Everyone has their own path. We can educate and people make their own decisions. That's really the main thing, making sure people get the education that they need. So when people are sleep deprived, what kinds of things will they see that maybe could be corrected by using this natural medicine?
A few things that you will see with somebody who's sleep deprived is a foggy brain.
Mhm.
They will wake up and not feel refreshed. Maybe somebody is sitting, talking to a group of people, and they can easily fall asleep. There's another measurement that if you are driving in a car as a passenger, and if you cannot stay awake for an hour under normal circumstances, that would be an indicator that maybe your sleep pattern needs to be looked at.
Hmm.
So excessive sleepiness during the day, mental fatigue, fog, and just not that fresh feeling in the morning that you're ready to start the day.
Wow. Mhm. And how much sleep do people need? Because I've read different things through the lifespan, it changes. And as we get older, we may need less sleep. I don't know what's true. So I'd love to hear.
Such good questions. This is great. Um, Sleep is so important. Um, we usually recommend 7 to 8, 9 hours of sleep a night. As we get older, we do not require as much sleep. There are people that function on much less sleep. Uh,
Mhm.
I protect my sleep. Um, I know how I feel when I get sleep deprived, and
Mhm.
I have so many uh, different factors in life right now with our pandemic and
Sure.
just trying to take care of family and friends that are struggling.
Mhm.
Um, but if somebody
Absolutely.
doesn't require that much sleep, everybody's body is different. And
Mhm.
if they wake up feeling refreshed, then their body is telling them they've had enough sleep. And
Nice. Yeah. So you can kind of listen. I also have heard that it's best to sleep between 10 and 2, that you get your best sleep at certain hours. And yet I know people who, especially artists and musicians, who are always have been up all night and sleeping, part of the day. What are your thoughts about that?
well, I believe that the earth cycles into darkness for our bodies to rest. There, of course, everybody is different again, and some people really thrive in that. I worked night shift at the hospital for many years, and I did well with it. I liked it. And my sleep was very important then, too, very
Mhm.
regimented. If you're not getting enough, I would encourage you to spend some time as you wind down at the end of the day,
Mhm.
turning off your devices an hour before you go to sleep, maybe even drinking something warm, a warm cup of tea, and whether it be a hot bath with some topicals. There are all kinds of ways that we can prepare ourselves for sleep.
Nice.
Then adding the cannabinoids in to help our body go into homeostasis and that restful period is what we want. And what we want is for people to do that in the cycle that the earth is prepared for us. And that would be to sleep at night and be awake during the day when
Mhm.
the sunlight can, fill us with vitamin D and all of that good stuff. But again, I think if somebody is thriving with what they're doing, then their body is telling them that they are doing the right thing. So if
Right.
an artist wants to stay up all night and make good music, then that's what they should do.
As long as they're feeling healthy and refreshed, and getting that sleep in, that's so important. Perhaps cannabinoids could help with falling asleep during the day when we're not prepared for because it's not dark outside. I don't know. It seems like
Oh,
that might help.
absolutely. Cannabinoids would bring our body into a state of relaxation so that we could sleep during the day. I
Yes.
certainly have had a little too much CBN during the day and had a nap.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been really informative. Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to add about sleep?
You will sleep better if you sleep naked.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. Studies show that people sleep longer and at a deeper sleep when they don't have clothes obstructing them.
That's really important to know. It's funny that you mentioned this because when I was younger, I I always slept nude. As I've gotten older, I don't tend to do that, and it may be one of the reasons I have some sleep disruption sometimes, I think. Interesting. I'll have to switch back.
Send me an email.
I'll report in and let you know if it helped.
Please do research.
Yes. I am doing research for Chapman Health and Wellness.
There you go.
Well, thanks so much for all of the tips and information. How can people get in touch with you?
Wendy, anybody that has any questions or would like to find out about programs that we have, they can reach me at contact@chapmanhealthandwellness.com. We would love to answer any questions or show you how you too can have a better sleep.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Wendy.